Kelly, I thought you did a great lesson. I really enjoyed it. I could tell that you have a wonderful relationship with your students, and especially Bailey. I can tell that you have worked with him. You know where his strengths are, you know where his weaknesses are, and your lesson was excellent.
Thank you.
Really was.
Thank you.
Getting back to the lesson, I could see where you took the lesson plan's objectives and you tied it with his IEP goals. Can you elaborate with that a little bit?
Okay. The reason I did that is because we have to show where he's made growth on his goals for his IEP. So linking this lesson to that makes sure that I have one of the checkpoints that we have to show in his IEP.
Right. So it's
folder.
kind of your documentation.
It's my
as well.
documentation,
Right.
exactly.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. Now, one of the things I was very impressed with your lesson is how you put just your simple mathematical symbols and how it relates to real-world experiences. Can you tell me kind of where you came up with this idea?
I just felt like, showing the students how they really will use math in the real world is something they needed to see, because all the time you hear them say, well, why do I have to take geometry, or why do I have to take algebra? I'm not going to use that after I graduate from high school.
Right. They always feel like there has to be a reason to do something.
So this kind of showed them a different view of how it will be used in the world versus what they thought.
I love that. One of the things I was very impressed with your students is how familiar they seem to be using these graphic organizers. I take it that y'all been doing that throughout the year.
Not necessarily in math. They've used graphic organizers in other classrooms.
Okay. So they were able to transition it to the lesson.
Right. So they just transitioned using that graphic organizer into the math classroom. And then after we finish this graphic organizer, it will be put into an interactive notebook that they will add to the rest of the school year.
So they can use it as a resource to go back and check their ideas, or if they have questions about the lesson, use it as a reference.
Exactly.
Awesome. Also, I just was very impressed with the fact that your students were so familiar with able to use a calculator. You could see they felt very comfortable with it. Is that a practice that your students have been using all year?
It is. They are very familiar with these calculators. However, the calculators that are used on the not benchmark, what was it called now? I have to think. I just went totally
That's right. We've
blank.
been through so many testing.
Went totally blank on the testing. Aspire. ACT Aspire. Sorry about that. The calculators they use on the ACT Aspire are graphing calculators, and our special ed students have not been privy to using those calculators. Only the general ed classrooms have had those. We
really puts them at a disadvantage if they've not been able to have time to practice.
For this next year, we have requested that our students have the same exact calculators. I don't know why, except for the fact that they weren't doing that high of math, but still on the testing they need it. So
because they're going to be tested on grade.
Not where they actually are.
Right. Exactly. So that's going to be very beneficial for those students once the testing comes in.
Exactly.
Also, I was just curious if you can tell me how you went about grouping the students.
When I grouped the students this time, I didn't even look at high, low. I looked at who's going to get along with who.
I understand that.
With this group, sometimes, I don't know from one day to the next, which two are going to get along with another.
The dynamics of
we just came into class today and everything worked out right.
Yay!
So,
well, we'll take that for sure. And you could tell that your class had a very harmonious flow. It really worked. I also like the fact that you gave them time to work in class, but you also reassured them that if you don't finish it, it's okay. You can finish it for homework. That kind of didn't make them feel like they were in panic mode. So many students was like, they're thinking the goal is to finish and not take the time to do it. So I felt like that gave your students a little ease of knowing that I can actually take my time.
They could, and most of, not very many of them, all of them finished, and they always do, because we usually don't have homework.
Well,
and
research is showing that, if you have a good lesson during the school hour, during that time, homework should only be enrichment. It really shouldn't be a punishment. It should just be enrichment, not something that they dread.
Right.
And I'm glad that the pendulum seems to be going in that direction now. Can you tell me what you, after the lesson was completely finished, what you felt the best about it? You thought, man, I need to remember this. This worked. I want to try this again. Because they really seemed to catch on.
I don't even remember.
The graphic organizers were really
Okay. The use of the graphic organizer, because they have been using it, I felt like that was the best part of the whole lesson, was the fact that we used the graphic organizer and they can put it into their interactive notebook.
And I liked how you didn't just give it to them.
Right.
They had to do it themselves.
Right.
A lot of times we just pass them out a ditto paper for them, but they had to do it themselves. And I think that made it where they could really show that ownership, so they may remember it a little bit better as well.
And the fact that, I gave them the symbols, but then they had to find the definition to what they were.
Right.
Because if not, they would get bored.
They would.
They would have gotten bored, and they wouldn't have known what to do. The only thing, I guess what I would say my weakness, the weakest part is the fact that there really wasn't any pure interaction. It was all me telling them what to do and them actually doing it. It was like more busy work than interaction.
Well, I find that in the beginning stations of an introduction of a lesson, sometimes there is more instruction, but then you can wean away from that.
Right.
The next time you bring these children in, you can still be working on the symbols, but give them a little bit more ownership.
Right. Like I would have liked a scene where they could maybe collaborate with their partner.
Exactly.
So that they could work together to come up with some of those solutions and answers.
Well, I'll be very curious to see how their evaluation of this lesson turns out. I have a great suspicion that they're all going to do amazing. I know your goal is to have at least 80%.
Right.
And to me, watching this lesson, most of them will catch it on quickly.
Good.
Congratulations.
Thank you.